The FCS College Football Experience Championship Game Reaction Show and look ahead into 2024 on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today and start making smarter bets. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US based and legal in 40 different states. Head to cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use that promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by SGPN's NFL Playoff Challenge, sponsored by Edge Boost. Free to enter, and $20,000 in Edge Boost deposit bonuses are up for grabs. Enter today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NFL Playoff. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NFL Playoff.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the FCS College Football Experience National Championship Reaction Show and look ahead to 2024. Oh, just a dominating performance by the South Dakota State Jackrabbits to make it back-to-back national championships. Go Jacks, as they say. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but nah. No, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Sometimes you got to do that. Pretend it never happened, and that's what I had to do with my Montana. My Montana plus the points. Got it at 13.5, 14. I had it at one bet, 13.5. Double down on 14. And I lost both. It's terrifying. Talk all about it. I'm joined by my co-host. Give it up for. Well, if you've been down to Florida, if you've seen any of those, that one police academy down there in Florida, all right, you seen any of that shit? The movie Wild Things. Well, there's a bunch of Florida movies. Something About Mary. Right, you been down there? You seen all that shit? South Beach, the glitz, the glamour. Well, you know, among all of that is this guy. They call him the Gulf Coast Guru. He's riding around on power boats. He's you know, always got a cocktail with some type of pineapple, mango fusion involved. Give it up for Mike Rose, a.k.a. Gulf Coast Guru. How you doing, brother?
Man, what's going on? Yes, fucking, you had me at Something About Mary. I gotta watch that movie, man. I haven't seen that in years. It's one of my favorite comedies. I love that one. Dude,
You think Brett Favre sent a dick pic to Cameron Diaz on set?
Oh my God, he probably sent them to all of them.
Actually, probably didn't have the You know, he had to do it old school. He probably just dropped by a little Polaroid shot because back then you didn't have the iPhone. You had to do the little. She got a little message underneath the hotel room door saying,
little dick in a box.
Favre wants you, baby. Man, dominating performance in the FCS National Championship game as I was wrong. And I was just completely taken back. I knew they were the best defense in the land, but at the same time, I did not expect that big of a dominating win. But I would also argue points from it, but obviously the Jacks grabbed that. You know, it is great for the sport. I know, I would like to see Bobby Hawk, who's turned into the Marv Levy, I feel like, of 0-4 now in FCS national championship games. It would have been great to see Montana get the win, but I do think it's great to strengthen that South Dakota State, North Dakota State, battle, the rivalry, Dakota marker shit. Just because South Dakota State's been in three of the is it the last three national championships they've been in the game, won 2 of the 3. They're starting the tie. If you look closely, I'm no expert, but to quote former president of ours, I think you would notice that.
I think tide turning. As I remember, I was raised in the desert, but tides kind of it's easy to see a tide turn. Did I say those words?
Yes. Because they have really, I'm waiting to see how North Dakota State strikes back. That's the war within the war, you know what I mean, or the war outside of the war. Like, yes, FCS every year is fantastic, but now from a bird's eye view of FCS college football, now we get to see North Dakota State, see if they can rally the troops. Obviously, they had the coaching change, but what'd you make of this game, man?
Yeah, for one, I won some money off this game, so I was pretty happy. I got South Dakota State right off the rip. I took it at 12.5. What I make of this game is this program right now is they're fully invested in football. They're rolling. They're dominant. I think they're great for the FCS. I think more eyes got to get on this team. This is a really fun thing that's going on. You got everything there. You got the uniforms. You got the wild fan base. You got star-studded team. And like you said, 3 straight trips to the national championship, winning 2 of them, kind of knocking Big Brother, what used to be Big Brother, North Dakota State off the high horse. So I love everything about it. I wish Montana would have came and showed out a little more. I think I kind of know some of your points you're going to make about why this should have been a closer game. They got after themselves a little bit throughout this game with turnovers and stuff like that. So, man, it's phenomenal. And I'm curious to know where you think South Dakota State would rank up in the FBS. Like, where would they fall into the mix?
Yeah, I think they're definitely a top 25 team. Like, I think they're definitely. At worst case scenario, top 40.
Mm-hmm.
But let's pull up the final top 25 here in the FBS. But I would just imagine, I think they're better than a lot of other teams. And when they open the season at Oklahoma State next year. So yeah, if I'm looking at number 25, 20, they play NC State, I'm taking South Dakota State.
Oh yeah, me too.
They play Liberty. I think I'm taking South Dakota State. Now they did play Iowa, but that was at Iowa. And what was that final score? Like 6-3 or something like that. It was something. Yeah. And that was 2 safeties and a field goal. I do think there's somewhere between 20, which NC State's 21, and 40. Because I don't know that I necessarily agree that this is the most accurate 25. Because JMU's on the outside. I think JMU would beat Liberty. There's other ones you can make compelling cases for. But yes, I think there's somewhere between 20 and 40. You look, they got NFL players, in a lot of different spots. So the proof's in the pudding. And man, that was a dominating performance. Now I will say, okay, so if you didn't get a chance to watch the game, folks, out the gate, South Dakota State drives down. Well, actually, I think they didn't score until maybe it was the second possession, I think. But Isaiah Davis opened up the game with a touchdown, 75-yard drive. I think it was the first drive though. Yeah. Okay. And then Montana drives all the way down to the 1 yard line. And when I say the 1 yard line, like the inch yard line, and they get stopped on a 4th and goal. That was the biggest play of the game to me, because that was so huge. South Dakota was able to get out of there. And then, later on, Montana, the second quarter, Montana adds a field goal. So it's sitting there at 7-3 at halftime, but it could have been 10-7. And then in the third quarter, Gronowski, just 10-yard touchdown run. He also had the pass to Jaden Janke. And then you had a late field goal by Hunter Dustman in the third, and that was the game. But that touchdown is the reason why you cover the game. And really, if you look at like the stats, so many games we've done over the years where you dive into the stats, and normally there's a gigantic, when you see a 23-3 game, there's normally a big gap. This one wasn't that big. I mean, if anything, South Dakota State was 4 of 11 on third and fourth down. Montana was 6 of 21 on third and fourth down. They did see that's the difference to me though. Just 2 and 5 on fourth down, and that to me kind of it was the reason why South Dakota State won the game. I mean, I know it's they were the better team. South Dakota State certainly was, but I'm just saying like the yardage. Okay, South Dakota State only had 104 more yards than they both had the same amount of first downs. Now maybe you can argue some of that was in garbage time. But the real X factor too is South Dakota State was able to establish the run with 188 yards compared to Montana's just 47 yards, 1.6 yards a rush. But I do think Montana should have covered this game. And if you score at the 1 yard line there, that's a cover for everybody. And if you look into the stats, to me, if you were to not show the score and look at the stats, you would say that would not be a 20-point game. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, man. And then just to compound on that, I mean the turnovers. You can't turn over when you're the team that's weaker, the lesser of the two teams, which we all kind of knew Montana was going into this game. You can't make that many turnovers. South Dakota State had one early, and really it came right after that fourth down stand that they had, and Gronowski threw the pick. So I mean that would have been a time to capitalize. Go out there. You didn't score on that fourth down, but okay, you got the turnover. Let's go back down. They got a field goal, so that's cool. But I mean, the turnovers in the second half just really killed them. And when you're playing a defense like this and a team that can run the ball as well as this team can, you can't make those mistakes. And to me, that's the whole difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, what a win for the Jackrabbits! What a win. 2 back-to-back national championships, and that's what's interesting too. Is I'm hearing speculation that Gronowski is going to return. I know that Isaiah Davis is going to be off to the NFL. He's going to be drafted, but there are a lot of players that can return for South Dakota State. Maybe the offense takes a bigger hit, I feel like, but the defense might be in decent shape. For a potential three-peat and essentially 4 straight FCS national championships. I know it's way too early to really talk about that, but what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, they definitely got the ball rolling. I think things could be a little more difficult as not to be a homer, but as my Penguins continue to kind of keep getting on the right track in conference there. I think North Dakota State with the coaching hire coming from Wyoming, name slipping my head at the moment. Tim Pulaski. Yeah, Pulaski. I think that's a home run hire for them. Honestly, I think that's a really, really good hire for the Bison, and I think they're going to be,
Agreed.
Right there, right back in the mix. So, man, I think this team could keep rolling. I'm interested to see. I'm sure we're going to get to it with Zach Lewan, kind of, an offensive guru, 28 years old, offensive coordinator, taking off to the FBS and getting an offensive coordinator job in the Big Ten. I'm curious to see how big of a part is that, because I mean, when you have a young star coach like that and you got an offense that's rolling, I mean, I know the defense is still good, but you're losing a lot of players on offense, like you said. I think that could really have an impact on this team.
Yeah, folks, and I think what he's referring to is the fact that their offensive coordinator, you said Zach Lewan, took the job at
Northwestern.
Northwestern. I'm trying to blank on the Braun.
Yeah.
And they went out then and they got aggressive, and they hired the North Dakota's offensive coordinator. So a lot of movement here coming into South Dakota now. So Tommy Schuster, the star quarterback from North Dakota, we saw him leave for Michigan State. They had a great year. They made the FCS playoffs, but Danny Friend will be the new offensive coordinator. He jumps from the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota to South Dakota State, replacing Lewan. He's been the OC at North Dakota for the past 13 years. So that's quite the hit. This is not like a 2-year thing there. What that'll be interesting to see, because if Gronowski comes back a little long in the tooth, sometimes you get the 5th year senior, 6th year senior doesn't want to switch offensive coordinators, but something to monitor moving forward. And obviously North Dakota State, going to be fascinating to watch too, as a bunch of their guys that we thought would go to the FBS or to the NFL draft did return, at least as of right now. That can all change, as you see, I feel like every day on Twitter, but yeah, I mean, and then let's talk about the other side of this coin. The Montana Grizzlies. The Montana Grizzlies. Clifton McDowell has like his 7th year of eligibility or 6th year of eligibility. He could come back next year, but no. He's hitting the portal after a great season. I don't understand that one. Do you?
No, man, and I'm getting a little frustrated with it. I mean, this is off the top of my head the third that I can think of, with McCoy or Idaho, Poff from Albany, and now McDowell with Montana. The second they lose, they book and they're trying to get out. And a couple, I mean, McDowell, I don't even really know where the landing spot's going to be. Same with Poff. I was a little disappointed to see Poff. I know we'll probably talk about it a little more, but Miami, I don't know that he has a home there, and I don't know what the Hurricanes have done for a quarterback prospect in quite a while anyway. So I don't know. If I'm these kids, I think I stay with these programs and let it ride, especially with the eyeballs getting on the FCS. So, that's a baffling one to me, McDowell.
Yeah, and he had just came over from Central Arkansas, and I mean, I don't know that you're going to get a better opportunity than going to the FCS National Championship. If you come back, I was just perplexed by all these moves. We'll talk about some of them in a second, but yeah, Montana obviously gonna have to find a new quarterback. They do have, they did get some good news. I think, a couple key players. I know they lose Osmo at the running back spot this year, but a couple of their wideouts are going to be back next year. And that is enough, you would think, with McDowell. Aaron Fontes is supposed to be back next year. Maybe he hits the portal. Who knows? Same with Junior Bergen, the star returner. You would think Montana would be tuned up and ready for a next another run, another crack at potentially winning the FCS National Championship. But shocking news there, and I think that's got to be concerning if you're a Montana Grizzly fan. We're going to talk more about it, folks. But first, I want to tell you folks out there that the college football experience, the FCS college football experience, is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the National Football Playoffs. And look, they're bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So what are you doing, folks? Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code SGP. Once again, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the promo code SGP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Look, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be that stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater that is near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll be having at that very event. So what are you doing, folks? Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Perfect for the rest of the college basketball season and as the road to March Madness heats up. Also, perfect for the NFL playoffs. Download the Game Time app, create an account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S. based and legal in 40 states. They got P2P social betting, and it is a brand new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes. plus tons of fun social features that will give you a feel of basically like a betting social network. Cut offers lower vig, fully customizable odds. You can create your own bet, and get this: Cut handles all the payment side of things, so you're not going to have to grab the old Billy Club and look for old Tommy down the street and wait for him to come out of his fucking barbershop and crack him in the face to get you $200. No, you're not gonna have to do that. All right. They handle all the money. All right. Social features equal, group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, all that good stuff. So what are you doing, folks? Head to cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use that promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. All right. We are back. And, yeah, I mean, it could have been a closer game, the FCS National Championship. But at the same time, I'm okay even pissing away my money with South Dakota State. Getting that dub and inching closer, making that rivalry against North Dakota State a little more intense. There was a lot of news going on in the sport over the past week or two here, past 10 days. I think one of the bigger ones was Drew Cronick. Did you see this one? Drew Cronick, who was runs that hybrid wing T offense, was hired as Navy's head coach. He was previously at Mercer, where he was 28-17, and before that he was at Lenore-Rhine on the D2 ranks. So now we have an opening with the Mercer Bears. There was a lot of hype. Would you say Mercer had a disappointing season? What would you say about Mercer this past year?
I mean, I remember when we were kind of looking through, Mercer was one that we were both kind of like right around, I think, 2 or 3 in the SoCon for. They were perplexing because they had a lot of pieces back, but they also lost a lot of key pieces. I mean, I think you make the playoffs, that's not a bad year. So I wouldn't say disappointing. It maybe fell a little flatter than they would have hoped, but I wouldn't say disappointing.
I was a bit surprised that he took the Navy offensive coordinating position, because I don't think it's very common that you see Navy offense coordinators. I know Niamontalolo was for Paul Johnson, but it's not often you see the offensive coordinator, I feel like, of Navy getting hired as a head coaching spot. So I would think you keep Ed Mercer there, you keep winning, and it's a better path. But I don't know, more money. I'm sure it was more money, so maybe that's all the difference in the world.
Well, especially with everything they're trying to do to basically get the triple option out of the game. I don't know if I'd want any part of anything to do with that as a coach looking to move along. It only takes one job going south to really set you back a long time. So that's a risky move.
and we are strong fighters against the people that think that they should get the triple option out of the game. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of the core fundamentals of football. And
75% of the team should run it.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's one thing I did see though, is the Army Black Knights switching back to the triple option after fucking around with trying to pass the ball last year. It didn't really work out the way Jeff Monken wanted. Got rid of the OC, new OC coming in. They're running more of the triple option that they ran previously. Other news. So Mercer's open now. We'll see what they do on their coaching front. Now, we had thought that Fred McNair leaving Alcorn State after a 7-4 record in 23 and a 48-33 record in 7 seasons meant he was taking a better job. I don't know what the hell's going on there, because Alcorn's already moved on to Cedric Thomas. They brought in Cedric Thomas, the defense coordinator from Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Delta. That's their guy. But we thought Texas Southern was hiring McNair. It was chaotic what happened down there at Texas Southern. Clarence McKinney, 3-8, wasn't cutting it. 12-35 in 5 years. They fired him. So we didn't know. We thought it was going to be McNair. There's speculation, and then the announcement never came. Well, they went out and made an official hire on January 12th, earlier today. Chris Dishman, former Houston Oilers second, cornerback that was really good back in the 80s and 90s. Also played for the Redskins and the Vikings, if memory serves me correct. Maybe the Chiefs too. But this guy played NFL Pro Bowler, was a defensive coordinator most recently in the USFL and the XFL, and I thought he did a decent job. It kind of came out of the fucking blue. I mean, I guess he's got the Houston Oilers thing that he can maybe come in there, but that was a long time ago. I don't know if that these 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds are going to remember Chris Dishon on the Oilers, but your thoughts on the hire?
I'm very confused by the whole situation with Texas Southern as well. The hire for Alcorn State's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
I was looking at something on McNair.
Well, no. I mean, like Texas Southern, like in general, I'm talking about the whole situation. I'm surprised by Dishman landing at Texas Southern.
Okay.
I'm surprised that Fred McNair didn't work out at Texas Southern because that was, he never coached there. We thought that's why he was leaving Alcorn State.
Right.
And now he's nowhere, I guess.
So what I was just looking into, because I was trying to catch up on what's happening too. So it was they failed to come to mutual agreements on the contract between Texas Southern and McNair. So apparently, all along the board of who makes these decisions at Texas Southern, that was their top candidate. They even came out, they said McNair's the guy we want, which makes total sense because I think he's a great coach. I think we both agree on that. But they couldn't come to agreements. Now, the really confusing part is that the next preference for the members of the board was actually former wide receiver Andre Johnson. So how this all shook out to where none of those guys landed there, very, very confusing for Texas Southern. And I got to think that much turmoil in the offseason and as time goes on and you're supposed to be getting your recruiting cycle going, start meeting all your players, get this figured out, you're wasting time. So the new hire there, that's going to be a tough job. You've already missed some time. The players weren't expecting you to be there. The fan base was kind of thinking a little bigger, Fred McNair, that's a good name. Andre Johnson, that's a flashy name. And then, you end up where you end up. So with Dishman, I don't know. I think he's got his work cut out for him. I think the whole situation makes his job that much harder.
And I did see though that Florida A&M, obviously Willie Simmons is off to the Duke Blue Devils with Manny Diaz now, but Florida A&M still I think is one where everyone's speculating that the Rattlers could be the home destination because it's puzzling. Then why did McNair leave Alcorn? I know he wasn't, I guess, given the contract extension he wanted, but still, it's a bit perplexing. And you have now Florida A&M, one of the only teams left. Obviously, Mercer added to that list recently in the past, couple days. There's two open jobs now. So 2 open jobs are down to that. Remember, we're going to do an episode grading every single hire on what we think, what we can deduce from all of that, all the coaching hoopla. But yeah, something to monitor there. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get out of here, because I know, there's not much. Every day the portal's going fucking insane, but the amount of quarterbacks, and this is back to something you brought up a minute ago. Clifton McDowell loses the national championship. He hits the portal, and if you pull up like the passing numbers from a year ago in the FCS, you really see that almost all the players. So Reese Poffenberger leaves Albany for the second time. Remember, he left for Old Dominion for a little bit and then came back. So now he's going to the Miami Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. I'm sure they cut him a nice check, so I can't blame him in that regard. But you look at
you like the move for him though. I mean, we were such big fans of Poff all season, man. I'm torn.
Here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I think he's good enough potentially to play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you just a move to the FBS helps, the chances of him playing in the NFL. I don't know, but I can tell you this. I wouldn't want to go to Miami. I mean, yes, unless they cut me a big bag of check, or a big bag of cash. I'm sorry. I don't, because Miami's kind of been a disaster. Everyone thought Van Dyke would end up Tyler Van Dyke would end up a top 15 pick, and now he's off to Wisconsin. Jake Garcia went to Mizzou. It just seems like it's a rotating chair now. But if you're cutting a guy 6 figures or something, I can't blame him. You know what I mean? I can't blame him. Even if he never goes to the NFL, the fact you could, I don't know, if they gave him $500,000, that could do a lot for your life. Yeah. He's still got multiple years left too. He's only a junior next year. So He's got 2 years left, so he could transfer again theoretically. But it's not only him. You know, if you pull up the top 25 passers, it's really a ton of quarterbacks, and that's kind of been the hard thing to grasp, I think. And it's the future of the sport. Unfortunately, the FCS is going to be the farm system for the FBS. Max Brosmer, New Hampshire star quarterback. You know, he's got 1 year left. He cashed in, and I'm under the illusion at least he cashed in. He went to Minnesota with the Golden Gophers. We saw Gronowski was one that I'm monitoring, but we've also seen, you know, some of the other ones they graduate. Kasim Hill doesn't have any eligibility left, but you go to the ones that essentially do, and Giovanni McCoy ends up at Oregon State. Bryant's Zevi Ekos ends up at Washington State, and you keep going down the ranks here. Haj Malik Williams ends up at UNLV now. It just seems like almost all the quarterbacks, all the great quarterbacks, with the exception of Gronowski, really. I guess you could say Derek Robertson, Maine's quarterback. He transferred to Monmouth, so that's one where they're staying in the FCS. But a lot of these FCS stud quarterbacks have hit the portal. What was it? I'm drawing a blank right now on Furman's quarterback. Furman's quarterback? He's a baller. He hit the portal. I don't know if he's landed anywhere yet. Why am I drawing a blank on his name right now?
I actually am too. I can't. I keep thinking hires, and that's Samford.
Tyler Huff.
Yeah, Huff.
You know, that's so you're talking like all the now maybe he comes back. I don't know, but he hit the portal. It seems like every good quarterback hit the portal in the FCS. It's just concerning looking forward to next year and trying to project all of this movement. I don't know. What's your why? I mean, I guess you can't blame them because they're grabbing a check or trying to grab a check, but at the same time, it's hard for continuity base, to preview a whole subdivision here. When in the FBS, you knew Caleb Williams, even though he transferred, you knew he was coming back to USC this past year. You knew, McCarthy was coming back to Michigan. Yes, a lot of quarterbacks transfer, but you still knew a good chunk of Quinn Ewers was coming back to Texas, even though I know a couple years ago he was at Ohio State. I don't know how healthy that is for the sport's popularity if you have the best quarterbacks transferring out. McDowell, as I alluded to, in Montana. Do you think they're all going to find a home, or do you think this is something that maybe Huff and McDowell end up staying put, or and what do you think about this for the entire sport?
I mean, I'll tell you, for one, as far as them coming back or staying put, if I'm a teammate and you book it, I mean, even though I understand sometimes it's for the better, like, it'd be hard if I was an Albany Great Dane to be mad at Big Papa Puff for heading off to Miami in the FBS. But at the same time, like, if you backtrack and come back, I think that's got to hurt team chemistry, hurt the mood a little bit. So I don't know if that works out. What I'd like to see with these guys, these quarterbacks, what baffles me is you don't see a ton of the FBS guys coming down to FCS. And that's something I think you'd see more of, because you want to see the field. You want to play. Like you were naming the guys. You were naming Quinn Ewers and Caleb Williams. These are guys that, when they did transfer, it's either, Ewers wasn't getting the reps at Ohio State. He thought he should have been playing. Okay, I'm going to book it. I'm going to go to Texas. They're going to play me. Williams, he left. He followed his coach to USC. So with the big names in the FBS, typically if they transfer, it's for a fairly good reason. Now the FCS, you're seeing these guys that are in the playoffs getting this, the screen time, actually, because they're in the FCS playoffs that people do follow. I'm surprised to see them going to teams where, Miami, as much as I don't think Cristobal's a great coach, what Cristobal is a good recruiter and a good snake oil salesman, right? So he gets big time recruits to come there. He gets guys in the portal. I don't know that Poff is going to see the field. So, while the NIL, I get it, maybe the money's good there in Miami, but I would rather personally see the field. And then that's coming from a guy who used $500,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's confusing.
Well, and by the way, Matthew Sluka is another one. It seems like every great quarterback, Tommy Schuster, I mentioned him earlier in the episode, but add in Matthew Sluka, Tommy Schuster. Just seems like every good quarterback that is not a senior graduating, for the most part, there's a couple exceptions, has hit the portal, and is either maybe they haven't found a home yet, but they're looking for a home. And to play it back the other way, actually let me read an ad, and then I'll make a point on a few that have added, have committed to FCS schools, but I just don't know that there's that much traction on them. Let's see. But before I do all that, folks, I want to tell you that the FCS college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. They got NFL, NBA, NHL, college football, and college basketball. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in, people. So watch along, make picks, maybe make a little extra cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, we are back on the FCS college football experience, and so I mean, there are a few that if you go out there and look, so I know this one because I'm an East Carolina Pirate fan. Mason Garcia, who was actually one of the bigger recruits in ECU history, he just didn't work out at quarterback for ECU. This is a guy though, he is committed to Austin Peay. That's a nice get considering how big of a recruit he was for ECU. Now I know Austin Peay, obviously coaching change. We'll see how everything works out. With the Governors there as Scotty Walden left for UTEP, and then they hired UCLA tight end coach Jeff Ferris. But that's one. There's a few others, and I don't know that these will jump out to you. Tevin Carter was a quarterback at Memphis that could be interesting. That went to Tennessee State and Eddie George. And there's still some names in the portal that I think potentially could. I know Clay Millen, Hugh Millen's son from Colorado State could end up in the FCS or something. But that was one that Tevin Carter, Kaya Sharon from Kentucky commits to UT Martin. Jake Rubley from Kansas State landed at Illinois State. So there's been a few. I'm trying to think. I thought there was a couple more that caught my eye.
DeJuan Mathis, I find very intriguing.
Yes. DeJuan Mathis was one that was once a big time recruit for the Georgia Bulldogs. Colton Gaither from South Carolina committed to Gardner Webb. That's something to monitor as well. Justin Fomby from the UConn. From Houston Christian transferred over to North Carolina A&T. That was an FCS through FCS one, but Avion Smith, the guy who won the MAC championship for Marshall. I'm not Marshall, Miami, Ohio. He landed at Alabama A&M. That was an interesting one to me as well. But yes, I understand what your point. And Brady Shannon was a UCF quarterback that landed at Youngstown State. But I understand your point. I don't know if there's any like home run ones here. Dejon Jennings from Akron lands at Weber State. Obviously, we talked Daniel Richardson, former Central Michigan quarterback and Florida Atlantic coach, going to Florida A&M. Luke McPhail from Syracuse to Utah Tech. Brady Olson is an interesting one from UMass to Central Connecticut State. I actually think that might be a pretty good get there for the Blue Devils. Jonathan Bennett. This is one we should talk about. Jonathan Bennett played some at Liberty, not really this year, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Played pretty decently. He committed to the Citadel. I like that get for the Citadel. Another one, Carlos Davis, who just I know last year was at UMass. He transferred into UMass, competed for the starting job, didn't get it. Previously was the quarterback at Western Carolina 2 years ago. He hit the portal and he landed at Towson. That's a nice get for the Towson Tigers, I think. But yes, this is something we'll monitor on this show. But I mean, do any of those really? I think those could be some big time quarterbacks next season in the FCS, but I don't know. In general, I do think it's a problem for the sport, though, is that all their best players. We'll see where Sluka ends up. We'll see where some of the other names end up. But yeah, I think it's a problem moving forward.
I think some of the problem is going to be, for someone like me, I know you do the college basketball shows and stuff, and I really like college basketball, but I will admit that I do not follow college basketball like I used to, and a lot of it was the one and done thing, man. It's hard to follow now. With the transfer portal, it's starting to get that feel where, my problem with the one and dones is, unless you're talking about a team like Wisconsin or Northwestern, where they typically trot out, 50-year seniors and stuff, you don't have the name familiarity with the teams. The guys are in and out, it's a revolving door, and then you throw the portal into the mix too, and it's like, oh my God. So that's kind of what I worry about when you're talking, a brand is, when I turn on the Albany Great Danes next year, I'm going to be trying to figure out a whole new quarterback situation. Yeah, a whole new team, especially offense. So very, very, very tough to gauge there. One I'm seeing here that's very interesting to me. I don't know anything about him, but Matt O'Dowd from LSU, he went to Marist, so that could be one to watch out for.
Stone Early, the North Texas head coach. What am I talking about? North Texas quarterback. He landed at Abilene Christian. That's one to watch too, because he started a few games at North Texas, and I think that could be one that really helps the Wildcats there. But yeah, I mean, dude, it is, and the one and done actually. Here's the thing: the NIL is kind of saved. You don't have much one and done now in college hoops with the NIL. The problem is, the portal's insane. So you're seeing that now. Arch Manning made $3 million, speculated. This never even took a snap for the Longhorns. So you get stuff like that going. It's actually, in a way, better to be in college and in pro for a couple of years. I don't know. I mean, all of it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to preview, best transfer classes, all that stuff when the dust settles. Right now, there's still, I know the transfer window closes, I think, in like 3 or 4 days, but I know it opens again in the spring. So I'm not sure if we're going to do, maybe we'll do best classes during, for right now when the portal shuts on January 15th or 16th, whatever it is. Then, we'll do it again later on. But obviously, some big names. We didn't even talk running backs. Desmond Reed, Western Carolina, goes to Pitt. Jawan Howell, the stud running back for South Carolina State, goes to the Gamecocks. There's a bunch of others too. There's other names in the portal that are all kind of shocking, but we'll have you covered as we move forward. But yeah, the season comes to an end. What was the biggest surprise for you this season? Was it the Albany Great Danes? Was it the Montana story after they looked like kind of like shit the first month of the season? Was it the Idaho Vandals? All the players transferring. What do you think the biggest surprise was for you at the end of the day for this whole season?
I'm going to go with John Troxel and the Lafayette Leopards. I was just a big fan of them all year. I remember we talked about Lafayette in the preseason, and for some reason, the Troxel, being D3 and all that, and being successful down there, and what we know those guys have done over the last few years with guys like Leipold and DeBauer. I was a big fan of that hire, and to see what he did so fast there at Lafayette, and then the fact that they should have taken down a blue blood that's transferring to the FBS like Delaware. They should have won that game in the playoffs and taken down the Blue Hens. So that was the funnest one by far for me, and definitely one of the most surprising.
Yeah. Another thing is, did you see how many players from Austin P landed at UTEP? It's like Austin P's whole team now is at UTEP. I feel like,
and Austin P brought in a lot of FBS talent that I'm sure they'll be up towards the top of the best in class.
Yeah, folks, don't worry if you think this season's over. I mean, we know the season's over, but if you think we're going away, we're not. We're going to keep talking about stuff as the off season. Still a fun time to talk college football with the FCS college football experience, and we'll note those other coaching hires that happen. Obviously, two open positions, and we're gonna grade every single coach, go through big time background check. All right, we're like the fucking FBI over here. Let's go. Until then, we'll be back next week. But give Mike Rose a follow on Twitter at GCG_wins, and make sure you tune in to the Gulf Coast Guru. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Subscribe, or follow, and then subscribe. YouTube.com/The College Experience. That's the hub for all of our college content. We do the College Basketball Experience every single night. I got to go live in about 52 minutes talking college hoops. Big ass slate tomorrow. Check out the College Basketball Experience. Last night I dropped a College Baseball Experience with that season going into full swing in about a month. And we also talk FBS. We talked about Nick Saban's retirement, and we did a look at the SEC 2024 schedule. That episode's out there on the College Football Experience, and this is the FCS College Football Experience. So we got you covered when it comes to college sports. We're even going to have a Frozen 4 preview, I think, at some point in March. So, folks, subscribe, youtube.com/The College Experience. Also, remember, check out the Sports Galley podcast, folks. Until next time, this is the FCS College Football Experience. Congrats to those Jackrabbits. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.